we touched on it last week a bit, but obviously now it's got a lot more serious. Last week, we gave it a concern index of 2 just because of the fact that we're worried about the reoccurrence of Steph's ankle issues. But
And
now...
rightfully so, to be worried.
Obviously, this wasn't an ankle injury, but if you didn't see what happened, JaVale McGee landed quite awkwardly on Steph's knee, very similar to Zaza and KD last year. Steph left the game, obviously, and this was against the Hawks. It was his first game back after missing 6 games. He was diagnosed with a grade 2 MCL strain, and he's set to be reevaluated in 3 weeks. Steve Kerr's already ruled him out for the first round of the playoffs, as much as Curry's not happy about that and disagreed with him. I mean, the average recovery time is 4 to 6 weeks. This is the exact same injury that happened to KD, as we mentioned, except KD did have bone bruising, so maybe give or take a week less. But it's still going to be 5 to 6 weeks before we see Curry back. And so he's definitely missed the first. The semifinals are 5 weeks away, and the Western Conference Finals are 7.
Yeah.
So if they make it to the Western Conference Finals, he'll definitely be back. There is a chance he could be halfway in that second round series. He may not be ready at the start. But
well, the thing is, would you, if you're halfway through the semi-finals and say they get a 2-0 lead over whoever they play against, do you risk Steph, or like do you wait until if it goes to 2-3 or
it's
to
a
game
question,
7, do you bring Steph back?
It's a question of rest over reps.
Yeah.
What does he need more? That'll be the question. I mean, we saw this happen similar in 2016, I think it was, where he slipped on a wet patch against Houston and did a grade 1 sprain to his MCL. He missed 15 days with that, came back and destroyed Portland in that overtime game. Yeah. But he wasn't the same player. Yes, he had a good game there, but he just didn't have that same quickness.
He's still going to take you to that next level.
Yeah, he is. But that's what it means of, does he need more reps before a Western Conference final, or would you prefer more rest? Which, I mean, that's going to be the decision for their medical staff and Steve Kerr, depending on how he recovers from the injury. I mean, as we know, he's not their only injury issue. Their injury list is quite extensive. Thompson with the fractured right thumb, KD with the rib cartilage fracture, Draymond with the pelvic contusion, which is a mouthful, but that's actually apparently a real injury. And then on top of that, I mean, they've had Caspi, a few other guys who have struggled with injuries as well. Some of their depth players, which we've talked about, they don't really have depth anymore. So when you lose those apparent depth players, it gets even harder. But all of those, their 3 other All-Stars should be back within the next week to a week and a half, possibly a little bit sooner. So they're going to be right for playoffs.
Yep.
But they're now facing at least a first-round playoff series without, in my opinion, their best player in terms of how important he is
most
for their
valuable
team.
player,
Most valuable player is probably the better way of putting it. And there is a chance right now, if we did it as the standings are, they would verse the Jazz. They don't want the Jazz in that first round. That's a tough out in the first round with the defensive ability of the Jazz, with Rudy Gobert. You've got Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, they don't want the Jazz. But, I mean, if we look at it, there's still a chance. They're probably unlikely to face Portland. Portland's probably far enough up on the standings compared to the rest. They've given themselves a little bit of a buffer, 2 games up on the Thunder. But the Pelicans, the Spurs, the Timberwolves, even the Nuggets are a slight chance, probably unlikely. And then the interesting one is the Thunder as well. That would be a heck of a first-round series.
You think
KD versus Westbrook.
Yeah.
KD versus Quinn Cook. Good luck, Quinn Cook.
Quinn Cook's on fire.
He is doing very well, but there is no chance he can do anything against Westbrook. So, I mean, I don't think they're going to verse the Thunder.
Curry defensively, right?
I know, true. But, I mean, he makes up for it with his offense, which Quinn Cook has been playing quite well. They don't want the Spurs, and they don't want Utah.
Yeah.
Because they've got the defensive flaws that I think can push them, considering they don't have their number one offensive player. Obviously, KD is still one of the best players of all time and one of the best players in the game, which helps when you have another one of them at your disposal.
So does that mean the Timberwolves will be the golden ticket for the Warriors?
They're not going to be the golden ticket. I mean, they played probably, it was a week to 2 weeks ago with no Steph, and they still had KD and Thompson at that point, and the Timberwolves won, and they didn't have Butler then. And Karl Anthony Towns has shown that he can he's one of the few big men who can challenge Draymond.
Yeah.
So he provides a matchup nightmare for them with his ability inside and outside.
Yeah.
But as
any
we said,
great center kind of matches up well with the Warriors,
Yeah.
right?
the Timberwolves at the moment are running themselves into the ground. So who knows if they'll even be able to put a team up in
Yeah.
a series with the way Tibbs' rotations are. But I think New Orleans or Minnesota is who they want. But the big opportunity now is for KD. I mean, if he takes them to the Western Conference Finals without Curry, the whole riding the coattails narrative can just stop already.
What if he doesn't?
Well, there we go.
It's
Yeah, that is
big
the
play for
question.
him.
That is the question, and also it's a question of how much they change without Curry on the floor. We talked about last week, their drop-off in pace is huge when he's not there. Their drop-off in net rating is well talked about, but it's also their game style. I mean, outside of Durant, Curry, and Thompson, Golden State has a 32.7% clip from beyond the arc, so from three, which is, if you extrapolated it out, would rank last in the NBA. So you take those three guys out. I mean, Draymond's only hitting 30% of his threes. Livingston doesn't shoot them.
Yeah.
Iggy and McCaw are shooting below 30%. Nick Young is at 38, but he's the definition of streaky. I mean, he can hit ridiculous ones. He can miss easy ones. When Curry's on the floor, only 29% of the Warriors' shots come from the mid-range. When he's off the floor, that jumps up to 43%. So they go from shooting the second fewest mid-range shots in the league, behind only Houston, to shooting the fourth most when he's off. So it's a completely different game style when Curry's on and when Curry's off. It goes back into kind of KD's formative years with the Thunder, where it was a lot of isolation, watch me go. And I think for them as well, the defense is going to be huge. They need to turn up the defense. They've had a top 5 defensive rating in the past 5 seasons. Last year they were second. This year they're 9th.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 2 Defensive Player of the Year genuine candidates in Draymond and Durant.
And then you've still got Iguodala off the bench if you still vouch for him as a great defender.
Well, he is he's still a good. We know his offensive game has been struggling this year, but he still is a really quality defender. I think that's where it's going to be a lot of KD. The defense has to pick up. And, they're going to need Iggy or McCaw to give him something. Quinn Cook, as we said, has been. I think he gets his playoff roster spot. I think surely now he's going to get that spot with no Curry. But, as we said, they're safe in that second seed. They're not going anywhere. It's just a matchup. It's a matter of who they're going to match up against. I think if they get the Jazz or San Antonio, they're going to be sweating. But I think they'll be okay.
They'll stay away from Greg Popovich.
I think if they face the Jazz, I think they're in a bit of trouble. I think Jazz proved it yesterday when they beat the Warriors, and they're just a team that is so exciting.
Yeah.
And
they
play very
so
fast,
good.
and they are a very good defensive team. So I think they probably match up the best out of any of those teams in that 5th to 8th region.
Yeah.
They probably match up the best against the Warriors. So that'd be the
Unless
one
San
team they'd be hoping
Antonio
to
gets
avoid.
Kawhi back. That's the one wild card. If they got
that's the
him
one.
back, I
Yeah.
think he's the number one. But with him not there, I think you're right. Jazz are the one
Kawhi would
don't
take
want to
Durant
face.
too.
Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be a healthy Kawhi, but we saw what a healthy Kawhi looked like last year. So
exactly.
before Brownie's favourite player.
Zaza.
But anyway, I would say, although if it worked out that they had to play the Thunder in the second round and Curry still wasn't back, that's another tough one.